Fantasy is keeping an eye on those with his barracks, so he's going to have good vision here and know when to sneak around and when not to. So that tank getting repaired by 2 SCVs. A lot of tanks out here for Mind. Mind is a very good mech controller, as I mentioned in the last match. It looks like a lot of tanks going down for Mind, though. He's being shot down by Marines here. Whoa, all of his tanks gone. So Fantasy, good job there putting out a bunch of Marines probably to scout, but ended up taking out a lot of tanks. That could, I'd say he definitely has the advantage now, since the match was such a mirror matchup here. Now he has a lot more tanks. I think Fantasy's going to realize this soon, how many tanks he put away there, and he's going to be able to push up and maybe get a contain on Mind. And look, it looks like he's trying to take out this map artifact here with that tank. So he might be trying to come in from behind the side of his main. He took it out already. So it looks like, I'm not sure if he's going to risk going in there or not. He might have been trying to throw Mind off, try to make Mind paranoid and get him to build up more defenses. We'll see here. There's Fantasy building more supply depots up behind his main there. Bunch of tanks in strategic position for Mind, and he's moving out with vultures, trying to do some harassment. There is another expansion for Mind. So Mind actually getting a couple tank kills of his own here. Using that barracks to his advantage, getting that extra vision. The Fantasy has excellent tank placement here. He's not getting shelled right now. He has his tanks in just the right distance away from the other tanks. And Mind's vultures are probably going to sweep past this group right here. This tank's probably not going to be able to stop it. You see he's laying tons of mines here, trying to take the tanks out. I don't think he should probably focus on these tanks. I think he should focus on trying to get some economic damage. But you see he lost a lot of vultures in that. Lost all of his vultures now. And Fantasy, I'd say, is in a firm lead here. Actually beating Mind in a straight-up match here, because neither player has gone for anything too crazy. Mind actually taking out a ton of tanks here with his, I guess, a combination of his mines and his siege tanks. But I'd say he's probably still behind as far as military count goes. He's producing a lot of vultures. I don't think Fantasy has nearly as many vultures as Mind does. I think, yeah, Fantasy has devoted himself to Goliath for whatever reason. I'm not sure why he went for Goliath so soon. He might have scanned Mind's base, excuse me, and see that Mind is going for some kind of air units or something. You see Mind's just now getting his scan up at his new expansion. You see a lot of SCVs out in the field repairing tanks. That's definitely going to be important for the players to consider. You see, Fantasy is starting up his contain. I think he's going to be able to contain Mind, but Mind does have a lot of bases here. This might still be anyone's game because each player has been able to do a lot of damage to the other. See, Fantasy putting up another expansion up here at about the 1 o'clock position. Tons of factories everywhere. There's a tank being shelled by Fantasy's tanks. Fantasy doing a good job positioning his tanks so far. Got a nice siege line there. He's probably might be able to take out these vultures before the vultures can mine him. Looks like he can't though. Yeah. A lot of damage done to those tanks. They weren't taken out, but they are weakened now. So one more vulture raid, as I like to put it, will probably take that line of tanks out. Fantasy sneaking in with a Goliath here. I'm not sure why he produced Goliaths. Goliaths are not good against this in this kind of tank versus tank battle. I mean, what's the Goliath gonna do? Shoot a tank? Now you see Fantasy putting up his starport, and there's Mind scanning that. It looks like a control tower was cancelled there. You saw there's some debris right next to the starport, so for some reason Fantasy cancelled his control tower. You see Fantasy is getting a nice contain here, trying to contain at least Mind, and Mind building up a fairly substantial amount of tanks himself. There's a Wraith out, so I guess Fantasy wanted to devote more minerals to that Wraith instead of the control tower right now, although we'll have to get it eventually to get the cloak. He's building his engineering bay. If he wants to create a successful contain, he's got to get a lot of turrets up, so that eBay is going to be very important to him. Mind has Goliath of his own to deal with the Wraiths. Those tanks were weakened, so the Wraith is able to pick off some tanks, actually. It was a funny sound that the announcer made. Yeah, the Korean announcers sometimes sound like they're clearing their throat when they talk. Okay, there is another expansion for Fantasy up here. It looks like Fantasy is going for a lot of expansions while he's containing Mind. But Mind, actually, getting ready to move out here. He's going to inch up those tanks a little bit more, probably scan, and then take care of Fantasy's tanks here. Yeah, he might actually be able to break this contain right now if he can, but that Wraith is in play here, going to be able to weaken those tanks at least. Goliath's out, going to take care of that Wraith. I'm not sure how many Wraiths that Fantasy has out right now. He's going to need more than that one if he wants to keep this contain up, because he doesn't really have anything to deal with air right now. If Mind gets some kind of dropships out, there's going to be nothing to stop Mind from dropping in Fantasy's base while Fantasy's troops are away. Yeah, I'd say it's still anyone's game, but you see that Fantasy is expanding a lot here, using this opportunity. The best time to expand in StarCraft is when you are putting the pressure on, and Fantasy is definitely putting the pressure on Mind right now, but Mind has a lot of bases. Mind's going to be able to, get dropships. He's pushing up here, and it looks like he saw this base being put up by Fantasy, and he's going to be able to take that out very easily with these two tanks. Fantasy's got to be sweating a little bit now that he's going to have to cancel that command center, lose about 100 minerals on that, more than 100, about 125 I think, something along those lines. And here comes Fantasy dropping Goliath into a big bunch of tanks. I'm not sure how successful this will be. It might be successful. He has plenty of Goliaths there, but there are more Goliaths here for Mind. Fantasy actually managing to save his expansion there, even though Mind was actually floating a command center over, trying to take that. A little bit premature by Mind, floating that command center over. But Mind is bringing more dropships up, so I don't think this expansion is going to last much longer. You see there's a turret there, but that turret's going to be a little late. I'm not sure what Mind is waiting for there. Yeah, you see he forced Fantasy to cancel that just by flying those dropships over. Didn't even really have to waste anything there. So, yeah, Fantasy being forced to build another command center there, which is pretty major. Lost a lot of minerals in that transaction.